Okay, so at the moment there are kind of two patch trees floating around. There's let's see, Adam and who's the other person?
Noah, probably.
I think it's Noah.
Noah and Adam.
Yeah.
They're trying to integrate LTTng, and they're trying to. Let's see, our collection was focused on wiring up your duo OSD ops pathways, so you can get really good information on each op that goes through. You know, write versus read versus writeful, that kind of thing. With mine, I picked Systemtap mostly at random. I don't actually think the choice of tracing system is particularly important. I think we'll probably support both. It's just a way of ferrying information from Ceph out to a tool that is capable of reading it. But I was more interested in tracing the resource contention and tying that back to an op. So ideally, once that's done, every mutex in the OSD, when you take it, you're obliged to provide an op that we can associate the resource with during the duration of the log. So you would be able to trace all events that occur on behalf of an OSD op, or all acquisitions of a PG log, for example.
Okay.
Okay, so that's where I was so far.
Okay.
It wasn't actually particularly interesting. It's just a matter of creating a couple of, well, my part was just a matter of creating a couple of superclasses to make it less boilerplatey.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I told you this before, but my only concern is that it would be nice if whatever trace points annotations we put in the code are general.
Yes.
Generalized to both systems. Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't matter that much now because there aren't that many of them, but before we go sprinkling them all over the place.
Well, so I guess, with OSD STAP, it basically replaces mutex with track mutex, and the lock and unlock methods are obliged to provide a track op. And there is an annotation method associated with each of those with the thing that outputs to Systemtap. So then you would just add another one to that one place that also outputs to LTTng. So throughout OSD and PG, you're not emitting Systemtap event. You're just obliged to provide an op when you take a lock, basically.
But the general form is the same, like they're.
I haven't looked much into LTTng, but they look pretty similar. I mean, you provide trace points that are a trace point name followed by a bunch of uninterpreted information, which gets interpreted by the other side of the call out in whatever receives LTTng traces. It really does just seem to be a way of shuffling tuples from point A to point B.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, it's a little more than that because they have the ability to do hot patching of the code. So if you do something like, say, I want to trace only those things that are OSD ops, that branch that says I want you to not do anything if it's not OSD op happens in Ceph, not in the trace capture. Does that make sense? So it doesn't. It actually hot patches the Ceph side with compiled native code that is capable of making that decision. It's actually quite snazzy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the LTTng case.
Systemtap for sure. I assume LTTng also works that way.
Okay.
I think LTTng's claim to fame was it does some kind of clever way of ferrying the data that's cheaper. Some ring buffer thing.
Okay. Well, I don't really have anything else. I guess somebody just needs to keep an eye on the two sets of patches and make sure they're not going to set up roadblocks down the line if we merge one to the other in its current form.
So far, they appear to be mostly disjoint.
Yeah. Okay. So and Adam's he's working on getting Blue Jeans up and running, but I think so. Noah was looking at understanding where the time is spent in the OSDIO path, why ops are taking as long as they are. Adam, I think, is looking at doing tracing on the client side, and I think the idea is that you would have a standard build of the client library, whether it's Libredos or libRBD, and be able to subscribe to a stream of trace events that you can capture and then get a trace of the workload.
What a particular client you mean?
Which is what's that?
Do you mean like a file system trace? That kind of deal, or
Yeah.
More sure
read at this offset of this size, that type of thing. Yeah.
I'm not sure if Systemtap is the right tool for that, or LTTng, by the way. Might be.
It might be. I mean, you can. They're trace events, right? You can just.
Yeah, I mean.
Start listening, capturing them.
The important part, I think, there is the way we choose to write out the data. So on the other side, you subscribe to the trace. That's cool, but then you need to write these into a format of some sort so that we can then pull them back later. I think that's the critical part.
Right. Okay. Yeah, they have to be.
Yeah, maybe LTTng is the way to work, but it's also possible that just appending to a file would be fine too.
At least for the initial capture, and then you translate it into something.
Yeah, the reason for all the complexity in Systemtap and LTTng is you want to be able to dynamically enable these branches at huge numbers of places in the code without there being any overhead at any other time. Just emitting the things that we're going to send over the wire as a message anyway, I'm not sure that the complexity. Maybe though.
Yep. Yeah, I'm guessing at the end of the day, this would be, the strategically placed trace points in the code, and then, a scripter tool that will fire up LTTng or Systemtap, enable the specific trace points it cares about, capture them, and then write them in a specific, trace format or something like that, or raw and translate it later. But there'll be a specific subset of trace points that it cares about in order to generate its trace.
But I mean, for emitting Libredos operations, wouldn't that really just be a matter of taking a glance at the OSD op, or at the op right before it goes to submit?
Yeah, in that case, if you wanted to make a Libredos level trace, but you probably also would want to be able to do an RBD level trace, so you can see the operations above the client-side cache, and also within the independent of the striping strategy that RBD is doing, or the cloning and all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I think this is again sort of a little bit about what Adam was focusing on. One of the general challenges is that you have all these people deploying clouds and running virtual machines, and they want to know. We want to know what kinds of workloads they're actually seeing, and figure out what generalities exist and what don't, because it's who knows what people are running in their clouds and what. Beyond saying that there are a lot of small IOs from most virtual machines, it's hard to say, exactly what that workload profile looks like.
We're able to capture traces both above and below the object cacher and all the other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Idea of how that's
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then be able to just take a bunch of traces from different customers, see how much they vary, and then amplify that on a test cluster, and then be able to tune against that, trace workload. Would be big. Yep. Okay.
I saw some work a while back about taking a concrete file system trace and generating a dynamic workload that had the same. That would be an interesting.
Yep.
Good implementation for.
I think we talked about that at FAST a couple of years ago. That was I think it was actually a group at Harvey Mudd that worked on that too. They took block level traces, but the output of that was a file bench config file that modeled the same characteristics essentially in the workload. Yeah. And I think that's actually sort of the direction that we eventually like to go in, right? so we can actually just describe the nature of the workloads.
Well, I mean,
but
the clever part is inferring the nature, right? That way, it's not us.
Or yeah.
Betting.
Yeah. Yep. Right. Okay. I think he's still working on it.
Has anyone suggested that he use an Android device? That's what I'm doing. It's easier.
Yeah, but yeah, we probably should come back to it then.
You want to keep moving, do you? That one was pretty short. Oh, he's trying again. We'll see. He may be connected.
He's trying.
Nope. Fail.
Got the play-by-play. Well, for the next one, we do want Hamai though, because it's the copy on the shared flag, right?
So I see Min is here. We could jump to the copy on read clones. If you wanted to put the whole schedule right through a blender.
That might be the thing to do.
All right. Is there anything left to cover off on the Systemtap stuff, or should I shut that down?
That's it for me. Let's see if anything else, Sam.
Not me.
All right.